Hey, Luisa.
Yeah?
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Ice cream.
Ice cream who?
Ice cream, you scream. But then we all scream for Halloween. I'm so funny.
Oh my god, it is funny. But that's Stassi, guys, and this is Luisa with Talktober, and we're tuning with Talktober month.
What's up, what's up?
This is where all the creeps get introduced to your ears. So, guys, I hope you're having a good day, good morning, good afternoon. How are you today, Stassi?
I'm feeling okay. The bump in my hand is still there.
Oh, did you get that checked?
Yeah, I did. They said they have to cut it open.
I'm sorry.
I know. I mean, it's horrible.
It's terrifying, right? It's Halloween and like you're getting terrors.
Yeah, it's something is coming out of my hand, and it's probably my.
That's scary. I mean, if anyone hearing has had this happen to them, please let us know.
Yeah, guys, I was cracking my finger, and all of a sudden, there's a bump in the middle of my palm. So if anyone knows how I can prevent my hand from not being cut off, please share your insight.
It's not going to get cut off. It's just going to be, they're going to make an incision and remove the fluid or liquid in there.
I'm not looking forward to that. I don't want no excision on my hand.
It's okay. That's fine.
Can I make the incision myself? Like, can I poke it?
No, don't do that, Stassi. Okay. Well, I'm good. How can I be? I'm always good because Stassi here is just the joy.
Yeah, I know. I just tell my problems and everyone just feels better.
But she says it in a funny way, so it's okay.
Yep.
Okay, well, today's song of the day is You Don't Own Me by
Grace featuring G-Eazy.
Oh, I love that song.
I know, that
it's
song
so
is
powerful
so cool.
for women.
Yeah, that's true. Or when you're driving.
I just love it. It's like,
it's just
you
awesome.
don't own me. Don't try to chain me in any way.
You don't own me.
Okay.
No.
And do you have news for us, Stassi?
Yeah, I was actually reading this article by the Los Angeles Times.
Mm-hmm.
And did you know that the FDA tried to ban flavors years before the vaping outbreak, but Obama shut it down?
No.
So all of this could have been prevented.
What prevented?
Like the whole vaping situation we have going on right now, how people are dying. There's a mysterious vaping-related lung disease that has surfaced the United States.
Yeah, I heard that one, but like I haven't been really into the whole vaping news. Are a lot of people dying?
A lot of people have been dying, yeah. But if the FDA ban had gone through, then,
they would have never existed.
Yeah, the vaping liquids would have not been sold. Yeah.
Well, was this before it even came out?
This was before the outbreak, so during the Obama administration.
Okay, but if people found out about it, they would still use it because who cares? People still use whatever they're not supposed to.
I mean, I already heard that there was a whole black market of these vaping products. But, it's just a governmental move on the topic, It was one way to prevent it.
Okay, I see. Okay, that makes sense now. Speaking of people dying, did you know there are serial killer nurses?
Yeah, I think we mentioned it during the last podcast, but didn't really elaborate on the topic.
Yeah, there are nurses killing people in masses.
I mean, that's terrifying because essentially these are people who we trust. So it's really scary to think that they can actually have a role in our death.
And yeah, guys, this is going unnoticed. These nurses are killing a bunch of people and nobody knows about it. And you know what? They're not even going to jail for it because it's going, again, unnoticed.
So what do? They just inject a vast amount of insulin and drugs?
Yeah, that's exactly what they do. They use insulin, they use potassium chloride, opioids, and they're just trying to make the patient. They're trying to cause respiratory paralysis with the agents.
Mm-hmm.
That's not as much now. They're doing other things now. But yeah, they're trying to cause the patient to go into arrest, like cardiac arrest or respiratory distress, for them to save them. And that actually goes back to the topic we talked about last podcast, Munchausen syndrome by proxy. This is it could be like a case of that where the nurse wants to shine and wants to take care. They want the attention by saving the patient. Yeah,
to be the hero.
Exactly, and it's being undetected. So no one is going to jail for it.
Wow, I mean that's ironic. It's just a form of murder that can be like done and never.
Yeah.
How do we prevent it? I guess is what I'm trying to get at. How do we know? How do we prevent these people from doing such acts?
Um. Well, it's a concern because a significant number of patients are dying, but preventing it's more of being aware as like a head nurse or like a nurse, like
Right.
be aware of your surrounding, or even as a patient, as a family of a patient, be
I mean,
aware.
what about like psychological tests that should be mandatory for nurses to go through? I mean, what if, you know, do they do tests like that before you get into the working field? I think so. I think you have to undergo like tests psychologically and mental tests.
Well, as far as tests, they do. I mean, we don't get any like psychological tests, but unless it's part of your physical exam, we do get a physical exam and do drug testing, and we have to pass a couple of things like that. Our
Yeah.
basic NCLEX and our licensing. But other than that, no, we
I
don't.
think they should implement it though.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, but these serial killer nurses, like, they're already going undetected. Like, how are they supposed to find it?
But different psychological tests. I mean,
That's interesting.
I think psychologists know or are able to tell when someone's a serial killer by the way they speak or act. Or I don't know. I'm not a psychologist, but I'm sure there are ways in which this can be prevented.
Maybe that is true, and maybe someone should look into it.
Yeah. So how do they? When a person dies, don't they do like a toxicology report?
Yeah, they actually do, but it's again, it's as weird as it can get. The substances these nurses are using, they're hardly detected after death.
Oh, so it just shows up as like a natural cause.
Yeah, and when someone is going under cardiac arrest or respiratory distress, the main focus is to save the person. So when the high levels of whatever substance is in the patient's body is in the patient's body, and that's when it's detectable, no one is thinking that this is the case, and they're dying. I mean, maybe they do get they die, and then when it comes to toxicology, the substances are harder to detect.
Wow.
Or like they're just unnoticed.
Yeah, that's fascinating. I mean, wow, it's just scary. Now I'm always going to be thinking, is my nurse trying to murder me?
Yeah, and it's not supposed to make you feel like anxious the whole time, but it's good to be aware.
I agree. All right, so I have a question. I read about Jack Kevorkian. He was a doctor. Do you have any information on that? I briefly read about it.
Well, okay, so I don't think this is the exact case. Well, I mean, it technically is a serial killer, but he was dealing more with patients who wanted to kill themselves, and he was basically putting them down because they had like a terminal illness, and
Yeah.
he was just helping them go down instead of the patient killing themselves.
Yeah.
So that was still looked upon as the doctor.
Yeah, I mean, it was looked upon as a crime since he did spend 8 years in prison.
Yeah.
Yeah. Got released in 2007. So this story dates kind of back. But for you guys, Dr. Kevorkian, he died at 83 in 2011. So
yeah. But he they say murders, but I don't think he got consents from the patients and put them down. But most of them are women.
Wow.
Well, I mean, there is a limitation there. There aren't a lot of men in nursing, but out of the 147 cases that they found that one nurse killed only one patient, so they threw all of them out, and they were never actually considered in this phenomenon of like serial killer nurses.
Yeah.
I found a bunch of cases, crazy. I found a case where a nurse killed 90 patients.
That's just absurd, and it has to do with, I wholeheartedly think, it's like psychological disorders. It's fascinating because I don't think a normal person would ever do anything like that, and it again leads to psychology. And I think these people probably had either abuse in their past, or maybe their experiences as nurses and experiencing all these traumatic events and dealing with people who have illnesses that may lead to death kind of does emotionally take an effect on people and psychologically, which can turn them into such human beings.
Yeah, and what's even crazier is this nurse actually took selfies with the patients.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Again, I don't think any sane person would do that.
Yep. And I actually looked into why they do it, and you mentioned a few things right there, but I looked into it and it said some killed because their patients are whiny and demanding.
Oh, so like revenge.
Yeah, and some are just get a sexual thrill out of it, so they're sexually thrilling to take the people to the brink of death and then bring them back.
Do they bring them back? No, they end up dying, right?
They do bring them back sometimes, but then they kill them again.
So it's just a game.
And you know why it doesn't come notice is because it's basically when a patient is declining and getting better and declining, it's like very normal in the hospital. The patient is hospitalized and we're expecting the patient to have issues.
Do you think it's because nurses don't get as much credit as they need, so they feel like...
No, I really don't think, and I know so many nurses, and a lot of nurses feel that they're not getting credit, and a lot of nurses are feeling bullied, a lot of nurses are feeling like they're getting underpaid, but none of that. No, this is a different thing. This is completely different. This is an actual serial killer who may even be getting into nursing for that reason, and it's not only nurses. Again, it's medical assistants and doctors.
So there are other medical professionals who do
But this specific phenomenon is about
nurses. Got you.
Themselves, and there's a lot.
I initially thought it might be nurses because they might be treated as, oh, you're not the doctor, so I can bully you, and that might get to them to the brink of revenge. Oh, now I'm gonna hurt you. But as you said, there are other medical professionals, and essentially again, I honestly think it ties back to psychological disorders and what made these people do such thing. Again, even if you're being bullied, even if you want to cause them harm because they were too whiny, why? Humans are emotional beings. How cold-hearted? You have to be.
Don't think of it as a nurse. It's a serial killer.
It's a serial killer,
and they're going unnoticed, and there's so many of them. And you never know if they're walking by you, and it's just crazy. And hospitals are supposed to look at it. There's a lot of detail on this, and there's a big research on it, and you guys should definitely check it out, because another case, there are more than 400 infants dying because...
And infants, that just makes it 500 times worse. I just can't.
Yeah, it's so hard to think about. But yeah, and just know, guys, there are serial killers out there.
Just be careful.
And it's the people you could possibly trust most.
Yeah.
Think about it, okay? And that is the horror of today's podcast.
Yeah.
This Talktober.
Yes. Thank you so much, guys, for joining in and listening to our podcast. This is Stassi
and Luisa
signing out.